Hello everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Story to Screen Movie Review Podcast, the podcast where we review all different kinds of movies, new and old. I'm your host, Chris. And joining me tonight is my own Avengers, -1, Ian Moffat, and Joshua Ling, my own personal Incredible Hulks.
Wait, you have two of them?
Yeah.
And aren't I Thor? I have the beard and, Celtic heritage.
You guys are Hulks to me. I'm
not sure whether I should be offended or.
Am I Gray Hulk?
I have to think about that one.
Do I turn green very often? I'm just checking.
I think you turn red for the most part when you get angry. So that's
also She-Hulk. What is up with that?
Yeah, for real.
I don't know what's going on there, but anyway. Anyway, everybody, tonight's movie review is the brand new The Avengers Age of Ultron.
I'm gonna show you something beautiful. Everyone screaming for mercy. You want to protect the world, but you don't want it to change. You're all puppets, tangled in strings.
What you just heard was the trailer for The Avengers Age of Ultron. It was directed by Joss Wheadon, written by Joss Wheadon, and starring Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, and a ton of all different types of people that we've seen before in other Marvel movies and brand new ones as well, like James Spader and Elizabeth Olsen. Now, guys, as we speak right now, Avengers Age of Ultron has made nearly $500 million worldwide, and it just opened yesterday. This is the 11th installment from Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it has already made $500 million. This is, quite honestly, Marvel has now become an unstoppable force in the movie industry. I mean, it has had success, somewhat successful on television, the movies, now Netflix, and God, I'm trying to think of what else it has conquered already. Are there any other forms of media that it's already conquered already?
Yeah, the MCU. What else have they done? I think you kind of need to go to what haven't they done. I think radio drama, we're waiting on that. I actually would love to see something like that. As far as anything else, yeah, I don't really know. They could do novelizations.
Video games. I mean, that's one thing, but I mean, they have become just one of the most financially, one of the biggest, brands ever. I mean, this movie is a testimony to that. But anyway, let's go ahead and just go into our review. Joshua, what did you think of Avengers Age of Ultron?
It was the Joss Whedonest of Joss Whedon movies. He pulled out all of his bag of tricks that he uses in just about everything he does. which is not necessarily a bad thing because he does pretty much all of them well. The one thing in his bag of tricks that I was not so positive on, and I'm not very positive on in most of his work, is his very strange work with metaphysics. He really likes to play with metaphysics and how do I put this? Also, just theology in general. He is an atheist, but he's a theological atheist. He's interested in the social concepts of theology. And some of the things that Ultron did were not just weird because I'm a Christian, but weird because they're cliched. They're so very Asimovian. Isaac Asimov, and I'm really, really getting tired of the Isaac Asimov take on robots and artificial intelligence, etc. That being said, I got to see the Avengers do some amazing stuff. We got to see some new Avengers. We got to see some amazing story amongst them, some fantastic character work, and overall the story definitely still holds together regardless of the Asimovian cliches. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed the first one. It is a mess, like the first one is a mess, but it doesn't try and hide that it's a mess. It just says, here it is, everybody, here's the story. And that's something that I really appreciate from Marvel, is putting it out there. Even though it is, a mess, it's an amazing mess. They make it amazing. So anyway, that's kind of my thoughts.
Ian.
Yeah, what he said.
Now, come on, you got to expand a little bit on your ideas.
No, it was a fantastic film. For me, usually I watch it once and then I kind of digest it. And the more I think about it, the more I really stick and like this movie. It is just like Joshua said, the typical Joss Whedon approach, like especially with the dialogue, was just spot on. The parts that really could have ended up, a la The Hobbit, long and drawn out bits of dialogue and fleshing out the interpersonal relationships. They were succinct, to the point. There was no wasted dialogue. The action was fantastic. The Asimovian approach to robotics, it does get a little old. It's a trope that's well past being worn out. But obviously I haven't read the comic books, so maybe that's just a thing, a theme from the comic books that they're continuing. But just goodness, the acting fantastic, the action was fantastic, the CGI bit at the beginning was awesome. Whedon really he pulled out all the stops, and really just pulled out just a fantastic film. It was definitely grittier than the first one, which I think was good. It definitely played very well towards to the content. So yeah, just a fantastic film.
Okay. My thoughts. At the end of the movie, while I was watching this movie, it was just a conglomeration of just so many things just being thrown right at my face. All this visual imagery, the witty dialogue at times, the humor, the just amazing action and all that stuff. But at the very end of the movie, I was honestly just stunned. I was just like, I have no idea when I finished watching. You know what I mean? I was just like, I was just sitting there with you guys, and I'm like, what did I just finish watching? I'm not too sure what this was. And to be kind of honest, I'm still not too certain what I finished watching. I am going to have to, I know you guys were probably the most positive. I'm probably going to have to say this, but I'm really, really mixed on this movie. I don't think it surpasses the first one. I'm just going to get that out there. I don't think it surpasses it. I think compared to the first one, that first one just had this sense of joy. And I think that first film knew exactly what it had to be. This one, I'm not too sure what this film is or what it's trying to be, and I'm going to tie that more into my thematic aspects with this film, because I think I'm not too sure what the film is trying to say thematically. I'm not too sure if it's a movie about death, if it's about loss, or is it a movie about, the enemy, that the Avengers are probably their own worst enemy, or the threat to each other. I'm not too sure. Or I'm not too sure. I don't know if Whedon was just trying to play with so many thematic devices and he wasn't really too sure which one to play with, and he just decided to go with both. And here's the other thing too with this movie. Whedon, as we speak, Whedon has officially confirmed that he is done with Marvel. He is not going to do anything else. He is completely done. He's going his own creative route with some other projects. So he is done. This was his last hurrah with the franchise. And I don't know what it is with filmmakers who have this instinct of like, okay, this is my last one. I gotta do it. This movie feels more like a chaotic, kind of a chaotic, instinct where it's like, oh, this is going to be my last one. I got to do this and I got to do that. I want to add this and that. Okay. You either have to either pick one or the other. And I'm specifically talking about themes with this movie. And I think he should have gone with one or the other, in a sense. And I don't know if he quite lands. I don't think this movie quite lands on its 2 feet as well as the first one. Do any of you guys agree with me with what I'm saying, or am I completely wrong?
Are you saying it is more chaotic than the first one?
Yes.
Because the first one is extremely chaotic when you actually look at it on paper. And that's one of the things that I thought about before going into this movie, that the first one is a complete mess as well. We still don't know all of Loki's intentions. We still don't know all of Thanos' intentions in recruiting Loki. We still don't know everything that was dealt with that. In this movie, I think the main issue is not so much that there isn't a singular tone as it is the fact that the
more so a singular theme, I think, because he seems like to be juggling with so many different ideas.
It is juggling a lot of ideas, but I think the theme in the end is unpreparedness. They are not ready for Thanos. Mm-hmm. This is a movie to show you that they are not ready. And I think that was the main purpose of Avengers 2. It shows that they are, and I think it's summed up in the Vision's little spat with Ultron at their last spat. He's saying, Ultron saying they have no chance. They're horrible creatures, blah blah blah, and he says, well, there is some good about them. They want to be, and I keep hearing that his voice sounds like the iRobot robot now, like it's just, I don't know what it is, but that's exactly what he's saying. Basically, he's saying, but there's some good in them and they have potential and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, we're probably all going to die, but whatever, we're going to keep fighting. The whole point, the whole theme to this entire thing is unpreparedness. As great as they are not ready for Thanos. And so, to me, it does have a theme, but it is every bit as chaotic as the first one.
Okay.
So, that's kind of how I see it. Ian?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say you're on point on that. And there's also the I feel like a lot of it is wrestling with your inner demons. And especially when you come to the Hulk, it's an external demon. And I don't want to spoiler alert.
Go ahead.
You know,
Go ahead. I mean, this,
toward
ladies and gentlemen, we are spoiling the movie. So if you have not seen the movie, stop right now and just go see the movie. That's all.
yeah, exactly.
Go ahead. Yeah.
We are always spoilers anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But towards the end, you start to see everyone kind of break off, and the reasons for that is different for each one, but in a way they're also kind of the same. Because the Hulk, he kind of realizes with the big fight with Iron Man that he isn't in control like he thought he was, and he's terrified of what he's gonna do. In a circumstance and just lose all control. So he's got that demon, and then Iron Man, he's got his own thing going on, and then even Captain America, he expresses some what's the word I'm looking for? Not confusion, but not really sure about his place. And I think the undercurrents in this film have more bearing on the story than the first one. The first one was kind of an introduction to the Avengers as a whole. And you got to see some great, witty dialogue and some great action. And this one was kind of an introduction to the Avengers as individuals, and how they interact and why they interact the way they do. And how they proceed as individuals. And, to that point, Ultron is almost a Maltese Falcon, when it comes to that, in that, obviously he's got a huge bearing on the story, but he's really the catalyst to help each one of the Avengers kind of figure out who they are within the Avengers or without. So yeah, anyways, but those are my thoughts.
Okay, yeah. I have a lot of things that I want to say about Ultron as a villain, because I feel like Ultron, to me... Well, by the way, I will say this. James Spader, I thought, did a fantastic job in the voice. I thought
absolutely.
I thought his voice... what I liked about Ultron was that his attitude. I liked his personality. He had a very colorful personality... and he was kind of, I don't know what it was. I was getting like an Alec Baldwin type of vibe from the voice and all that stuff. But, but I felt like as a character, motivation wise, I kind of felt that Ultron was kind of something that we already seen already. And I'm speaking more specifically with Loki, because in the first Avengers movie, he was there trying to cause havoc amongst them. Ultron, I'm still kind of a little confused what his motivation is, but I get the sense that he's still trying to cause division amongst the team. He's trying to cause destruction, and what is his motivation again? Is he trying to point out that the Avengers are more of a threat to the world, which again, that concept I think is interesting, but I don't know if the film exactly delivers on that. I mean, am I wrong?
Well,
I think that you want to go, Ian, or me?
Go ahead, Ian.
I think his motivation started out like with that one phrase that Iron Man says, peace for our time. And kind of the typical, as Joshua said, the Asimovian take on it was that, all right, well, how do you have peace? You either need to, quote, evolve, unquote, humans, or get rid of them. And so I think his motivations started out with establishing peace on Earth, so to speak, and seeing the Avengers because he saw their violence and the consequences, the immediate consequences of their actions. And so he saw that and said, okay, we can't have this. So his original motivation was to get rid of them. And that just kind of fell apart over time. And then it ended up as basically, all right, well, now we just need to get rid of people because, They're just annoying. And
does that
so
does that kind of sound like Captain America, like Hydra's motivation in that movie to some degree? Because just from what you're telling me, it just sounds like we kind of did that already with Hydra or even Loki.
Hydra didn't want to get rid of humanity. Hydra wanted to
dominate humanity.
Control humanity.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. The as far as being, you're saying been there, done that. There's some similarities to Hydra and there's some similarities to Loki. But when you really think about it, where did Ultron come from? Loki's staff, the Infinity Stone in Loki's staff.
His personality, I'm assuming his personality came from that. Excuse me.
Exactly. Yeah.
From the staff. And then Tony kind of helped, Ultron was his idea. And, okay, now correct me if I'm wrong, but was Ultron designed to be kind of a helper to mankind, so to speak?
Yes.
Okay. Again, the movie is trying to play with so much, and I was really trying to keep up with this. Again, I don't really function that well when a movie's just spitting out so much stuff, and and for me, I think there's kind of quite a bit of some exposition that maybe I kind of miss. Go ahead.
Like any really good film, they're not going to tell you everything. There's a lot of stuff you have to figure out for themselves, and there's a lot of little stuff spread throughout the film, especially towards the beginning that built up what came later. That first big fight scene in that town. You'd had that moment which Iron Man told Jarvis to call out what he called the Iron Guard, which was basically Iron Men that went out.
Iron Legion, by the way.
Yeah, the Iron Legion. That's what it was. So I think that was kind of the baby Ultron. But Iron Man wanted it to be more self-sufficient and to basically put Avengers out of business.
Well, let's put it this way. The Iron Legion project was the physical project that was moving toward Ultron, and Jarvis was the AI version of Ultron that he was trying to, get better and better, and he wanted to eventually put them together as his own life creation. So, yeah.
By the way, I liked how they used Ultron as a virus. He wasn't like just simply in this physical form that he inhabited, but it was more so like a virus. And I liked how they kind of made him like a HAL character, like from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Because I was kind of getting that vibe from him, but with spunk and with a personality. You just mentioned the opening shot. That I do have some technical problems with it because I can definitely tell it's just this compositing of all these different shots and widescreen, and it's not flowing very fluidly. But that was a great opening track shot.
I bet you it looks better in 2D, honestly.
It probably did, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this is just specifically, for the 3D process, specifically for 3D, if it looks that way. Did any of you guys kind of get that vibe that it didn't look as fluid as it should be technically?
Yeah, it looked like cardboard cutouts because that's what we have when we get 3D movies that are converted. It's like, that's what it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean there are a few parts that look kind of cool just because of the perspective, but yeah, just that I think it's probably much better in 2D.
Okay, now I gotta ask you this: I was fooled up until the point when the Avengers in that pretty ridiculously looking but really awesome shot where they're all just lunging forward in slow motion and they're about to attack the fortress at the conclusion of the tracking shot. I actually thought for one moment that whole attack sequence was the ending. That was going to be the end. Like we were going to do. I thought Whedon was about to do a Christopher Nolan where it was where.
I'm so glad he didn't.
Did any of you get that vibe? Did any of you get that vibe at first that this was going to be that this was the ending that we were viewing? Like this was the final climax, and then it was going to lead up to, and then we were going to go backtrack and see what was leading up to this point?
I think it may have briefly occurred to me, but it was immediately shut down with no. No, I can't see Whedon doing that a whole lot, especially with a film like this.
Okay.
I've seen him use it once or twice, but I think he has a disdain for it like I do. I really I'm like, it's a story. The events happened in an order. Unless you have a really good reason for messing with the order of something, that's like messing with time signatures in music. Something doesn't sound better because it's in 8/9 time signature or something, you know?
When it was originally in 4/4, yeah.
Exactly.
I know I'm a little bit. I know I'm being really critical with this movie, but one of the things that really stood out to me as a positive was the second act. The second act, which I think was involving all the stuff with Jeremy Renner's family. How cool was that? That that Hawkeye actually had a family that was in hiding. That was actually a really cool approach, and I think the house sequence, just that single act or part alone, I actually really like that part right there for some reason, because I think it was the most it has the most multi-layered part, because here's a guy, Hawkeye, who we barely had a chance to know in the first film, but in this one I feel like he has a really complete story right there. He has a family that's in hiding, and he has a normal life while he's, of course, dangerously off saving the world. And in a way, these other guys, what I like is that he has a family, but these other guys really don't have anything, which I think that is an interesting concept right there. None of these guys have the family or the life that that Hawkeye has. And I felt like that was the most human part of the story right there.
Definitely. I really enjoyed that part as well, just that whole sequence. The other thing is, too, is there much better, like, conflict? Obviously, conflict, major part of a story, right? Having conflict, that's, like, one of the main things you need for a story. Is there any better conflict with a superhero than having a family to protect and provide for? Like, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we never, ever, ever see it. This is the first time since The Incredibles that I can remember having this kind of weight on any superhero. And yeah, he's a character within an ensemble, and this is his story and whatnot. But I'm pretty proud of Joss Whedon doing that and resisting the urge to do some kind of homosexual family or something like that, because he's Joss Whedon, but like, seriously, that was they didn't hate each other. It was a romantic couple that had been married for a while, obviously, 2 kids, have a house, that sort of thing, and he's working and protecting them, and that's just, it's amazing. And he has a healthy relationship with a female coworker. It's like,
well, that completely scraps up. This completely scraps up the possible romantic past that Widow had with him. Possibly.
I don't know about that. He may have known her longer than his wife. I totally think that they still had a past, a while ago, but it's a thing that, obviously the wife's totally cool with, because she calls her Nat, that was totally cool. It's like she's an aunt, I thought that was, excellent. I mean, that's normal, healthy relationships within all the chaos that we see from Cap and Thor. And, it's really, really refreshing. And I think it was a reminder to all of them, hey, what am I actually fighting for? It's this right here. It's the family. It's the continuation of existence on this planet in the most normal possible ways, and not these crazy ways that we deal with every day. That was pretty powerful. So
which Captain Fury actually, or Captain, goodness, hey, can you tell I'm tired? Nick Fury actually pointed
The
that
Iron
out.
Guard and Captain Fury. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm telling you, man, long day. But yeah, no, I really like. The more I think about it, the more I really love that whole scene, because it really does. Like, not only did we get to see more of Hawkeye and get to know more of who he is and his motivations for doing what he does, like, we kind of get to see how that plays out with the other people too, and kind of how through that, in a way, he's more established as a member of the Avengers. So yeah, that was such a great scene. You know, like I said earlier, it really could have been boring and drawn out and really emotional and melodramatic, but it wasn't. It was just what it needed to produce, to kind of push this whole story forward.
I think they did a pretty good job of giving a false idea of that he had so much. He was the one that had the most to lose. I mean, in a way, yes, but you're thinking that, boy, he is. Are they trying to deliberately communicate to us that he is going to die at the end, and that his family will basically have to move on without him? For one moment, I thought that Hawkeye was going to be the one to bite the bullet. If you guys know what I mean, I thought they were saying. I thought they were going to go down that route, but I will say, of course, I did know prior to seeing this movie, I did know that he's going to be in Civil War, Captain America 3 Civil War. So I was like, okay, no, they're not going to kill him off, because they've already confirmed that. Did any of you guys kind of get that idea?
Well, didn't you say something last night about how that would have been way too obvious for Whedon?
Yes. I asked you if you had taken the bait or anything like that, and you told me you were starting to and everything. I'm like, from the minute they showed that he had a family and stuff like that, I went, wow, Joss, that would be way too obvious. You are totally killing someone else, aren't you? Joss, here's the thing. Joss absolutely loves to, how do I put this? He tortures his characters with everything that they want. For one thing, he also kills them when they have everything they want, because they have nothing else to gain. So, he has to keep the conflict going. And he also does this thing where he hates doing the obvious thing.
Yep.
So when you put all of those together and he's building up something in an obvious way, it's like, no. Joss would never, like, if they were going to kill Hawkeye, you would have, oh man, you may have seen his family for like a split second or something like that, just to know who he is, kind of see where he's coming from. But you wouldn't like get to know the family and all this other kind of stuff. That's more of a Brad Bird move right there.
Yeah.
Brad Bird would really like, see how likable these characters are? Now they're gone. But Joss Whedon, he goes, Joss Whedon goes, hey, yeah, Joss Whedon goes, hey, look at this over here. This is just like Brad Bird. I'm going to kill him off. No, this guy.
Okay, now the death that did occur in this movie, I call foul. I had a gut feeling that he was going to kill off a character that either we had been just introduced in this movie that we really had no emotional attachment with. I mean, it wasn't like a Coulson death, where I still feel like that death was kind of pointless because they brought him back in the TV show. But with Quicksilver, I mean, I understand thematically, yes, he died a hero, a la, Batman, The Dark Knight Rises, you either die, either you die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, something like that. It's a twisted version of that idea. But here, Kick-A did a pretty good job with the role. Aaron Taylor Johnson. I don't know if he's as good as the. I actually would say this. I think the Quicksilver from X-Men was a much more better character, even though he was more of a screenplay device in that movie. Here, Taylor was good in the role. I don't think I had no attachment to the character. I wish they would bring that character back, but that's the problem. If you bring that character back, then the death was pointless. So it's kind of tug-of-war situation where, okay, if we bring that character back, then the death was kind of pointless.
Yes and no. You can make it still have a point because you say kind of it being pointless in the first place, right? Is that kind of what I was hearing you say?
Yeah, but I understood thematically what he did with it. I mean, here you had a
it's
character.
Not just for the theme, though. That's the thing. It's not just for the theme.
Well, that's what I felt like. I mean, I felt like he, throughout the movie, he was kind of, an antagonist to some degree. He was a servant of Ultron. But at the very end, yeah, he dies a hero. He dies saving the. He actually saves the life of Hawkeye.
There's one other thing it does.
Okay.
It serves to give Scarlet Witch.
Okay. Yes.
A reason to be a hero and to really embrace becoming an Avenger.
Okay.
Bingo.
It gives her a vengeance background and story that she will be taking into the future. So it does narratively do several different things as well as thematically. It is not completely pointless, but I do agree that you do feel bad for the guy. Like it is a thing where you're like, oh man, he just sacrificed himself. But there's not this hardcore, oh my gosh, I can't believe that person died. I'm going to weep for days. Yes, it's not that intense.
Yeah, I mean, again, because we were just introduced. It wasn't like Coulson, where we had, 3 or 4 movies prior to the Avengers. And this one, I mean, he was just introduced in this movie, and it's kind of a. I mean, yeah, you like him, but his loss in terms of the audience, in terms of the relationship with the audience. I mean, what does that mean? What does that loss truly mean for the audience? Do you know what I mean? With Coulson, it was like, he was such a fan favorite. He was so enjoyable. You like the character. You just loved his interaction with all these characters, and he just brought something to the other movies that was great. Here,
well, in a way, sorry to interrupt. In a way, you love Quicksilver more post-mortem because he saved Hawkeye. Like, we're like, please don't die, Hawkeye, please don't die, and then he doesn't, and you're like, Quicksilver, you magnificent jerk, I love you.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there was supposed to be any real audience connection or affection for him, because he's already a pretty minor character as it is. So
and the line, bet you didn't see that coming. That's Joss Whedon winking at everyone, going
all over the place. Yeah.
See what I did there?
Yeah. But yeah, I think it did a good job in building up the Scarlet Witch as being able to establish herself as part of the Avengers. Because I think she really, like, when that happens, she kind of goes nuts and does a lot more than she did before.
By the way, fantastic job on Elizabeth Olsen's part.
Absolutely.
I mean, she was likable. She was absolutely beautiful. Loved her outfit, and just loved her personality. I thought she did a really good job with the Russian accent. And the funny part is, I've seen her in a couple things, and she's a really good actress. I think she has a lot of promising just talent. I think she has a very successful movie career ahead of her. And she was a highlight of this movie. But I think this is a character that I would like to see a lot more of in future films. I mean, and she is officially confirmed for Cap 3.
All right.
So we'll be seeing plenty more of her.
Yay.
Yeah. But what was it? Oh gosh, now I lost my train of thought.
I'd love to see her in her own movie.
I would definitely pay to see a Scarlet Witch movie.
Yeah.
Do you a prequel movie maybe with her and Quicksilver? Maybe
I don't like prequels, but that's just me.
I think that would be kind of pointless.
I'd like to see her just straight revenge film. Go like, not Kill Bill, but like Kill Bill with the goth queen who's like totally gonna come get you. Like that could be awesome.
I liked her goth look. It's just absolutely stunning to look at.
And
Oh,
you know what? Some of her mannerisms, I think this is definitely a Whedon thing, but his directing style. But did you get like Summer Glau light, like River Tam light out of her, Ian? I know you've seen
Yeah,
Firefly.
yeah, a little bit.
There's a little,
Yeah,
there's a little bit of River Tam in that performance, and I really think she's not a crazy girl, but she definitely hears voices in her head and all that other kind of stuff, but she deals with it like a normal person. So, and I think
Yeah.
she really got that across extremely well.
hmm
okay.
and,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
and like you were saying about the Russian accent, I mean, we were just saying last night that it's really hard to pull that off consistently, and she did a very good job of that. I mean, even just the smaller moments when you kind of look for actors to flub up on their accents, she kept it going. So yeah, she did an incredible job, and that, yeah, just a great performance, and I really look forward to seeing what she can do with future movies.
She honestly made me forget that I was watching an Olsen sister. It was that good. I mean, she looks like her sisters, but I completely forgot about that. I was like, wow, this character is so great and so amazing, and I loved her powers. And by the way, a question about the visions. This is another problem that I have with the movie. Do I feel like these are the first vision seen by Tony, the first vision that we saw with Tony when he sees the dead
Now,
Avengers.
just so everyone knows, not the Vision.
Not the
Jarvis.
the vision. The vision in the first act, that Scarlet
The
Witch.
dream, yeah.
Yeah. Does that feel like more so a foreshadowing for Infinity War, or do you think, was that supposed to be a theme? Because if they're continuing these themes that they set up in this film in Avengers 3, then maybe I'll be a little bit more forgiving of this movie. But just for right now, I'm kind of a little bit on the fence with it. But again, one of my biggest problems with the movie was that Joss was trying to, he wanted to go for the theme of death, and I can't quite say he really nailed that in a certain that well. I mean, what does death cause? Maybe if you were to say, okay, death creates loss, or death can cause chaos amongst people, or something like that. But the first vision, I'm still not too sure what it was that caused Tony to go. I'm not too sure what kind of an arc he had in this movie. I'm not too sure what it was about the vision that he saw that kind of caused him to be not negative towards the Avengers, but just kind of untrustworthy, uncertain. What was his arc? I'm a little confused right there. What kind of set him on that course?
Me or Ian?
You, Joshua, because you're able to pick up more of this stuff.
Okay. The Tony's arc was this. His biggest fear, yes. Well, yes, absolutely. His biggest fear that she is playing off of is that it's what he saw when he went up in New York. That's the first thing. When he went up through the portal and he saw space and he saw the vastness of it, there's something in that. I'm sure he felt Thanos' presence. He feels this foreboding, this apocalypse coming. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. The second thing is he is totally and completely afraid that he is not going to be smart enough, that he is not going to be able to do enough. And I think we've seen that in small measures with, links to his relationship with his father, all this other kind of stuff psychologically. Tony is afraid that he is inadequate. As good and as amazing as he is, the world needs a better hero than him. And his egotistical nature and his narcissism refuse to let him believe that, but it's still this lingering fear in his mind. And so seeing all of the Avengers die because he wasn't good enough, that was the thing that they kept stressing. It wasn't that they died because of him. It was they died because he wasn't good enough, that he couldn't get the job done. Yeah. And so I think the whole point of Tony's arc is he's become obsessed. He's become Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, with trying to finish Ultron, because he doesn't believe that he's doing enough to stop this oncoming war, and he feels like Ultron is his savior, his path to his answer to it. So does that make sense?
A little bit. I don't think. Again, I maybe wasn't. I'm glad that we're having these kind of conversations, because I'm maybe able to pick up on some pieces that I wasn't able to. That I wasn't able to get from the first time around. Again, this is a movie I have to rewatch again, because I feel like it just tries to overstuff itself with so many different ideas and plot threads, and some incomplete thoughts to some degree. The visions I felt were kind of more setup, and that's not a problem, but I felt like you could have used that as setup, but kind of still explore that a little more thoroughly in the movie. I thought that in the trailers, Tony was gonna go behind the Avengers' back or something like that, that he was gonna be the cause of some chaos within the group, and that was gonna kind of be the beginnings of Civil War. So, see, I thought in this movie,
They kind of were, though.
yeah, but I don't think.
happen.
Yeah, but it wasn't enough. I actually thought by the end of this movie, yes, they do break up, which I have some issues with that. They do break up, but I thought that it was going to be unpleasant, unfriendly terms. You know what I mean? I thought they were going to all split up, and then there was going to be, like chaos, and that there was going to be, lack of trust between them and all that stuff. So I thought they were going to go down that route at one point.
Well, one thing about you have to remember about Tony Stark is that narcissists and just particularly arrogant people are often already really insecure, because deep down inside they know they are inadequate, and it doesn't matter how smart they are. And I think, especially looking at the earlier Iron Man films and how Tony Stark he was brought low. And I think in this film, his dream of seeing the other Avengers die because he couldn't do enough, I think that kind of solidified it for him and gave him that long-term vision, that long-term sight, I guess, for what's to come. Because he knows, he's looking at everything, and he knows that this isn't it. This isn't just like one more bad occurrence. This is the next step in something. Like Joshua said, there's a foreboding there for something, an ultimate intelligence behind all this that's coming, and the Avengers might not be enough to handle it. So he's trying to plan for it, motivated by that dream. And but he kind of sees that the other Avengers are kind of more focused on the present and what's happening now.
Now, did any of you guys think that these other visions that the other guys had, like Cap's vision with Peggy, which was a really good scene, but I don't know where specifically that's going to go, and what was Thor's vision, which, by the way, I did read somewhere that Loki was supposed to show up in Thor's vision, which I think that would have been great. I think that would have been a really cool idea, or maybe something to help set up, Avengers or Thor 3 or something like that. I don't know how these visions are going to play in the future installments, or how these visions are going to motivate the other individual heroes. I mean, I'm kind of curious to see where they go with that. I don't know if in Thor's case, if he's seeing Asgard in a state of chaos because Loki is allowing, basically the people there to just become kind of like a Sodom and Gomorrah. I was getting a Sodom and Gomorrah vibe off of Thor's vision. Did any of you guys agree with that?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I did, but the thing that I think that's the most unclear of all of the visions, quote unquote, that we saw, the dreams. I think of them more as, Scarlet Witch finding what their fear is, finding what their psychological fear is, and then playing off of it. It's like worst case scenario, basically. And yeah, worst case scenario in Asgard is everyone goes mad, partially because of Loki and chaos, yeah, but also just because what is Asgard really like helpful with in Earth, etc.? It's intelligence. It's advanced technology. It's all those sorts of things. And if Heimdall, who's one of the oldest and most intelligent people, outside of Odin himself or whatever, goes mad, then we're really up a creek, right? So, I think all of them were that way. It was kind of this worst case scenario, which I think if it is worst case scenario, that definitely says something interesting about Cap. It's like no war is the worst case scenario. I think Cap, at least, I think the biggest thing that he's afraid of is getting a second chance, which is a really weird thing.
That's what I was kind of getting at. Like, is this going to be...
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to call it now. I think this is going to be... That is going to be his send-off right there. Chris Evans' send-off. I think he's going to get a second chance with Peggy. I'm calling it.
If he does, we might get Cap in the manner of Falcon because the comics have set that up. There's definitely possibilities that way. And then, doesn't Doctor Strange in Marvel's universe have something to do with time travel or a time travel villain?
No, there's oh gosh, what is it? One of the stones I think deals with time. Am I right?
Ooh, you might be.
I think yes. I think so. I think it. Was it the yellow gem? The one that we saw?
No, the yellow is the mind. No, that's the mind.
Yeah. Okay. Feige did say in an interview today that there are 2 more stones that are yet to be unveiled. And one of them has to do with time. I think that's going to be Evans' send-off, that he is going to go back into the past and get a second chance with Peggy Carter. Am I wrong? Do you think that's a far-fetched idea?
I don't think it is. I think it could happen. I don't know what you do after that.
Well, that means that means that Evans is his time as Cap is done. It's complete. He's in the past, an alternate past, which that could be interesting. I don't. If for no other reason, then I think that would be a good send off for the character. Okay. My final thing here is this: the team breaking up at the end. I felt like that was kind of unearned. I'm not too sure. I mean, Hulk. I mean, I do have problems with the Hulk kind of going his own separate way because I think I can understand maybe because he felt like he was a threat to society, and now he's kind of taking he's going to exile, which I think that's in tone with the character. But I'm not too sure where Tony and Thor's departures, if those quite work, their departures from the Avengers. Maybe Tony is a little bit more scared. Again, maybe did he reveal his vision to the other guys during the film? I can't remember if he did or not.
To the Hulk, he did.
I don't think he did with Thor and Cap.
I don't know that he got the chance, but I don't think he's going to be continuing that. I think the whole point of Civil War is he's kind of going, okay, what are our assets on Earth, and how do we control them all? And I think that's really what he's going to, go into Cap 3 with all of that. No, I need that on for just a few more minutes. Sorry, my brother turned off my light. Anyway, so I think, the Cap 3 story, the Civil War story, I see that continuing forward. I see Thor going back and trying to solve the Loki issue. That's how we have Ragnarok. We have this situation where things are just completely going insane in Asgard, and Thor has to save the day there. I'm interested to see at what point, I don't believe, let me put it this way, I don't believe that we are going to have to wait till Avengers 3 to see any connection with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I do think that Guardians of the Galaxy 2, at the very least, will have some kind of connection to this overall Infinity War type story. And like even closer, and maybe they don't meet the Avengers or anything like that, but there's a connection there somehow,
More Infinity Stones, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm
Thanos.
really kind of and Thanos but I do think that with these major heroes in the Avengers kind of going off, that's gonna leave Cap needing more soldiers. It's gonna need Tony going, hey, well, what about these guys out here? They fought things like Thanos, we need them. It's there's going to be an outreach from Thor, Cap, and Tony, all in their own individual ways, to draw in heroes like the Guardians of the Galaxy and draw them to their side. So we'll see what happens there.
Ian, do you think the Visions kind of, or the team breaking up, kind of worked as the ending part, or as the end for this movie, or do you think it wasn't earned?
Like I was saying earlier, I think it was a good ending to this film. It'll set up the coming ones with the individual characters. Like throughout the film, we obviously have a buildup of the individual characters as part of the team, and I think that's going to play a lot into the next films.
Okay. And, at the very end, we get a post-credit scene with Thanos, which was kind of cool, but I'm still not getting a strong sense of his villainy. I really hope that Guardians 2 kind of expands a little bit more, kind of showing, at least giving us a little taste of his threat, or of his power, of how much of a threat he is to the Avengers. You want
the Death Star blowing up Alderaan. Honestly, I could keep this build going until Infinity War. I'm not gonna lie,
because it's one of those things about film, reveal and conceal. Like, you don't want to reveal too much, or else you'll ruin it, and you don't want to conceal too little. I think this is a good build-up. I think if they had just kind of thrown Thanos into the midst and said, "Hey, look, bad guy," it would not make the ultimate reveal as dramatic as I'm sure it will be.
Okay.
And this is a lot like Sauron. I mean, they're trying to build this guy like Sauron. This is the big bad, the end all.
He's more Emperor Palpatine. I would say that. I would say he's more of a Palpatine figure than Sauron. I at least for me.
Yeah, but I feel like there's more of a sense of, I don't know. There's something about him that's, Palpatine is feeble. Obviously, he's very powerful because of, he's this Dark Lord, and everything, and he has this magical ability, this wizard quality and stuff like that, and he's a super politician and all that. But Thanos is kind of jacked. he's
Josh
also
Brolin.
And he's also kind of this. He sits on this throne and has, he can just all of a sudden basically snap his fingers and have Loki at his beck and call. He can have, set up this Ultron thing going on, which I think they were going to say he had, stuff to do with that. You get this sense that he is the puppet master pulling the strings.
Obviously.
I mean, that's made pretty clear with the end credits scene.
Yes, and I have to do this myself if other people can't do it for me, And so I think, to me, I'm more scared of the puppet master than I am scared of a guy who has, X amount of who has a few of the Infinity Stones and blows up a planet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm afraid that he's going to do something so on a base cerebral level that I won't even notice it.
I'm really,
and everything will be screwed.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that. This movie. I honestly, it leaves me a little bit nervous with proceeding forward with the other movies, just in quality, because I'm hoping that it's not as messy as this film, especially Infinity War and Civil War, because these if this is what we're going to expect just the way that they did the ensemble piece in this one, I'm a little bit worried going forward with those next 2, or technically 3 films, especially with part 2, the 2-part Avengers movie. But they need to give Thanos, they need to show Thanos as a threat a little bit. They need to do something soon to show him as a threat, not just to the Avengers, but a threat to us, to convince us, like, oh my gosh, these guys might not have a chance against this guy, or they will, but it's going to come at a cost. You know what I mean? They have to do something big. But anyway, we've been going almost over an hour, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But sorry everybody that we didn't get a chance to talk about a lot of other things with this movie. We'll definitely do a commentary track once this movie is out on DVD. Which by the way, I think this movie could be helped with an extended cut, which they have confirmed is coming on DVD and Blu-ray later this year. So I do get the sense that this is a movie that was really condensed, and there was a lot of things that were cut out from this movie. So we'll see what that rumored Blu-ray cut will unveil. Now, as a film, as a Marvel movie, where do you guys rank this in the Marvel movies? Is it one of the best, or is it kind of a Thor 2 type of film?
It is a worthy sequel to the Avengers. It's not the same as Avengers. It is a different movie. A lot of people look at something like The Empire Strikes Back and they go, oh, it's great, because they remember that one moment with Darth Vader, I am your father, all this other stuff. And they just immediately go, oh, greatest film. I'm like, no. Honestly, this feels like a Two Towers or an Empire Strikes Back. It is solid in so many ways, but it's not a complete story. And I think that throws a lot of people off. It is chaotic. I'm not going to lie there. So was the first one. This is an incomplete story. This is a continuation piece. And so it's hard to rank it as a film on its own, because it's not on its own. It's connected to everything else. As a continuation piece, I think it is solid.
So you can't really quite rank it quite yet.
No, I can't rank it because I haven't seen the full story, and I can't really rank it because it's a piece of a bigger whole.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's a very fine piece of brick, but it's not a wall.
It's not a complete. I wonder if this movie might be helped if when Avengers 3 comes out. But yeah, for me, it's definitely not a Cap 2. I don't think this is a Cap 2 type of film. I think this is a better sequel in terms of Iron Man 2 and Thor 2 in some ways, but I think it is a bit of a mess, and that is where my problems kind of lie. And I don't think it really takes stuff to the new level. It's set up, but I don't know if it's quite earned, and I feel bloated, and I feel like there are just the creative instincts behind this movie are a little bit all over the place. I'm not too sure what Whedon was trying. I'm still not too sure what Whedon was trying to go for with this movie. Again, I'll try to watch it again on DVD, and again, yeah, I'm like you. I don't know where to rank it as a film. It has to sit with me. I have to think about it a little bit more. Ian, what about you?
I guess I'm kind of in the same boat. I see what they were doing with it. Like Joshua said, it's a continuation. It's not a you really can't watch this without watching the other Marvel movies. And just as an aside, Professor Moriarty. That's who I equate Thanos to. We won't get into that, but that's one to look up.
That's a good point.
Yeah, definitely.
But that just occurred to me. But yeah, I think it was good. I think on its own, it's pretty good, and it's a good continuation. I think we're going to see all the themes from this film played out a lot more in depth with the next films.
Okay, well, before we go out, we have a fan question right here. So Elijah Cost writes in asking us, The Dark Knight trilogy versus the MCU. Huh.
MCU hands down. That's just me.
Ian, what about you?
I don't think you can really compare the two.
Really?
Yeah. Because the Dark Knight trilogy, about one man dealing with a dark past and a dark future and a dark present, and trying to save one city. So yeah, I don't think there's much in the way of comparison. I like both.
Okay.
I mean, in terms of like sitting down, breaking out some popcorn and a can of Coke, I'll probably go with Marvel.
I actually did this one time. I actually popped in the Dark Knight and the Avengers back to back, and it was such a really cool experience watching these.
You're a brave soul.
Watching those movies back to back, and just kind of getting a. These are both movies, franchises, I should say, are so vastly different. It's like comparing apples and oranges. I mean, one is good. Both are good in their own ways. I mean, yes, I'm not a fan of Rises. Yes, MCU has some weak links. Thor 2, Iron Man 2, maybe debatably The Incredible Hulk. I might say Avengers 2, maybe, but I'll have to think about that a little bit more. For me, Rises is the weak link in the Dark Knight trilogy, but both trilogies or both movies series are very, very solid and are very, very good. One's a little bit more, I think one's a little bit more ambitious in its ideas in terms of trying to address social issues and bringing all these ethical dilemmas and ideas that I think, quite honestly, the MCU, I think, could kind of benefit from those ideas. I think, I mean, yeah, we saw that with Cap 2, but I think they can do a little bit more in terms of the stakes and raising the stakes and taking audiences to new places that maybe we weren't expecting. So that's one of my biggest gripes with the MCU franchise, that I want to see them kind of take some risks and some chances at kind of showing the audiences that as much as you love this franchise, no one's really quite safe. So, but anyway, that's our thoughts on Avengers 2. If there's anything else you guys want to bring up, go ahead.
Such as, like, plugs or what?
Nope. Well, okay, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there, folks. So.
Yeah, we're already almost at an hour and a half. So
yeah. I think we'll probably release this episode as the way as it is. But anyway, thank you, folks, for listening to us. We'll be back next week with probably Ratatouille and maybe that new Arnold Schwarzenegger movie called Maggie, which I'm actually kind of excited about that movie. It's an Abigail Breslin from Signs and Little Miss Sunshine. I really like her as an actress. So anyway, folks, please find us on Facebook, like us on subscribe on iTunes, follow us on Twitter, and we'll keep you posted about future reviews and episodes. And also, we have a 50th episode on the horizon, folks. So I am really looking forward to that. I mean, I think we'll be hitting that probably in June. So, because we still got we still have how many more episodes? This is 42, so we have 8 more episodes to go. So, there you go. So we'll see if we can do like a celebration or something like that. I'm hoping to leave all that stuff for the 100th episode, but that's way down the line anyway.
Yeah, we should review Citizen Kane.
Maybe we'll have a screening for Citizen Kane. I'm going to try to arrange something for that. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for joining us. Ian, Joshua, thank you very much for joining us. Where can people find your work? Ian.
ApologiaProductions.com, or look for Ian Maffitt on YouTube, and then Apologia Productions on Facebook and Twitter.
Joshua.
Oh, my turn. Okay, I thought you were going to say my name, and you did, but okay. So you can find all of my stuff at rhymeinspace.com. You follow me at jchristiank9 on Twitter, If just look up my name, Josh Willing, on Facebook if you want to find me there. I'll friend you if you're a real person. So, hey, yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers.
Peace.
Ow!
There are no strings on me.